My reason is for one that you may share, possibly. I have a very low tolerance level for stupid bullshit.
Now, y'all thought y'all could get that past us. Welcome to the Dissect the BS podcast. I'm Uzo.
And I am RJ.
And today we are getting into my very own story time of when a young queer man tried to steal my identity in college.
Wait. It was the intro for me.
Yes, identity theft. He wanted to be me.
Okay.
He wanted to be me. Let's get into it.
Let's go, girl.
So this story begins in the year 2011. I had just graduated from high school, and I was getting ready to transition into college. I was going to a state school that was very remote. The population for people like us was very small. Yes, the girls with the W. Very, very small, very small. But surprisingly enough, I ended up transferring from that school to another school where the population for the girls were even smaller. But yeah, that's a story for another day. But so I'm getting ready to go. So since there weren't a lot of people like us, we had to like congregate and meet each other via Twitter. That's when Twitter was really, really hopping. Yeah, it was around that era. Like Twitter, it had just came out, like everybody was on there, and it was really like a no man's land. Everything went. You could do whatever you wanted to do on Twitter at that time.
I know.
So we were linking up, all this stuff. We were stating like, you know, whatever college class of whatever. We were getting roommate assignments. We were meeting people. We were like scheduling different times, like when we get to campus, like what we're going to do, all that good stuff. So I met a girl. We'll call her. I have some stories about her, but that's for another day because she was nuts. Like everything that she tweeted, like every tweet was either about church or sex. Church or sex.
Hypocrisy.
Fuck or pray, fuck or pray. Like every single tweet, like that girl was nuts, but she's a story for another day. So I became really cool with her. So we decided to meet up. So when we got to college, we were like besties for like 2 months until we fell out. But in that time, she was really cool with another girl in her dorm who was really cool with the guy who tried to steal my identity.
The queer man.
Yes, the young queer man. But at the time, he tried to act like he was not queer, but we all knew. You know, again, 2011. Now, from what I hear, he has a baby and a man. So he's happy.
Got it. Question.
Huh?
I said question, like dot. So
I thought you were saying question, like I have a question. Yeah, I don't know if this was organized or if, I don't know. I have no idea, but I know he has a baby and he has a man. Okay. So I met him through my other friend, my other friend's friend. And so I should have known that he was uber messy because the friend, like he was always up under this girl, running around, whatever. She had a car. They were going back and forth to Walmart because that's the only place that we could have went to at that particular school. It was Walmart or McDonald's. So he was always up under this girl. But then he took a liking to me. We became really close and he would always talk junk about that girl. Like he would always go in and I would be like, okay. I mean, I would participate because I was also very messy.
But you're the bone carrier, so we understand.
I am. And I wasn't like, I was cool with that girl, but we weren't super close. So I didn't feel bad. But anywho, I'm just being real. Like now I still like to talk a little junk, but like I know when to recuse myself.
Okay.
Like, I can look at it and be like, ooh, this will probably come back to me. So I'm just gonna exit stage left. So I'm screaming. So I should have recognized that he was messy. So freshman year, let's say the second half of freshman year, he was all up under me. We would go to parties together. We would get people to buy us liquor. We would hang out with people on the track team. We would just turn up. We were always together. It was me, him, me, and him, me, and him. And I also gained 2 other close friends. One, we'll call her Jane, and the other one, we'll call her Rosie, right? So Jane and Rosie, we became really good friends. So it was kind of like a quartet. However, Jane had a long-term boyfriend, which, only like 6 months at that time, but long-term.
Long-term, got it.
And she
The time
also,
spans are short.
yes, and she also was on a sports team. So she didn't really hang around a lot. We would see her here and there or whatever, but she was always a good kiki whenever she would come around.
A good vibe,
And
okay.
Rosie was like, she was like a whole CNA. So, back then, CNAs were those girls. They were the queens making that 13 an hour back then. Yes, absolutely. So she was busy, to say the least. So whenever we would get together, I noticed that he would be like all up under them. And I'd be like, okay, like, sure. But it was cute. Like, we were like a little quartet. It was fun. It was happy, good vibes. First year ends. So the whole year ends. We go home for summer. We come back. We left off the previous year on a good note. Everything was cute, whatever. We come back and I noticed that my friend, I don't know if I gave him a name yet, but
no, not yet.
We'll
not
call
the queer
him,
man who saw your identity.
Yes.
He was identityless.
We'll call him Thief. I'm kidding. We'll call him Wannabe. So my friend Wannabe, he was just kind of acting weird to where like I would come around and like he wouldn't want to really hang with me, or he would, but he would be a little fake. My cousin is a year younger than me. And she came to school the following year for whatever reason. She wanted to go to the same college that I went to.
Now this is another story time for what were the reasons.
It can be one, but like she ended up showing up or whatever. So I was like, oh, like this was like my closest cousin at the time. Like that was my homegirl. Like we grew up together. I knew her since I was like 2 or 3, since she came from Nigeria. So she came, and then she also had a school friend of hers who came too. So those two were like peas in a pod. So of course they were like looking up to me, like asking me where to go, wanting to hang out with me and my friends, all that stuff, which was normal. Right. So Wannabe wanted to like hang out with them. Like he was like the type of person that would be like, when he met you, he just kind of wanted to like hang out with you instead of like naturally getting to know you and be your friend. Does that make sense?
It does. I actually had a question about that. So like as a personality trait, like was he social? Was he just someone who's like upbeat and friendly? Because it sounds like he was just engaging with everyone as they came around.
Yeah, so he was definitely quiet. Like if you saw him, you would think he was quiet, but then like when you met him, it was like a different story. So let's say if I introduced him to you, he would be pretty quiet, but then he would be like, oh, like what's RJ doing? Like, oh, let's invite him. And then just kind of want to hang out with you. To where he would turn up and twerk and then talk about hair and things like that. He wanted to hang out with my cousin and her friends. So they would orchestrate, meetings. I wasn't involved in it and I didn't really mind. I was like, all right, whatever. So it was my cousin, him and me. We were in our dorms. We used to have like bigger rooms called studies. So we were all in a study, and Wannabe wanted to go to Walmart. So my cousin actually had an issue with my friend Jane. My friend Jane could be very much so like upbeat, fun, and happy, or very condescending and rude. So she's the type of person to where people like her or they cannot stand her based off of the first impression. She's not a middle ground type of person, or at least back then she was not. That's still my friend to this day, and she's aware of this. She has been working on it, but that is a common critique that she gets. Yes. I'm just saying, that's my girl, but like, she's doing the work, and she's advised that she gets that critique often. She does not like that. So she is changing that about herself, and that's all we can ask. But the encounter that she had with my cousin was one of those to where my cousin didn't like her. So my cousin was basically kind of talking junk. I guess they had an encounter in the elevator. And Jane called her a little freshman.
Beyonce?
No hands were thrown. No hands were thrown.
Good.
But Jane referred to her as a little freshman, and I guess that rubbed her the wrong way.
Triggering girl.
Yeah, I guess. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. I wasn't there. Secondhand information. So I was basically telling my friend, I was like, yeah, it's not that deep. Like, she don't mean nothing by it. That's just how she is. That's how she acts. Like, she literally acts like that. So all 3 of us go to Walmart. It's Gucci. It's cool. Then let's say a week later, it's like me, Wannabe, Jane, And what did I give the other girl? Did I call her Rosie?
Rosie.
Wannabe invites us to like a little carnival or something in the next town over. So here I am going to this carnival, like, I'm turning
Is
up.
this like a Caribbean carnival or like regular
No,
carnival?
it's
Oh,
a
okay, got
regular
it.
carnival.
Okay.
We were in a very bumfuck
For the
town.
context, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Very, very desolate.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Rural,
Got you.
if you will.
Got you. Rural, yes,
So,
suburbia. Gotcha.
yes. No, not suburbia.
Not even suburbia. Oh, rural.
Do you know what rural means?
I mean, country lands,
Yes,
right?
super,
Okay.
super country.
Okay,
Nothing, literally the closest thing. Again, Walmart was the club. We
yes,
had a Walmart and a
Molly World.
McDonald's.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand. You painted the picture. Got it.
Literally it. So we went to a carnival or like whatever, like a town away.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking everything is cool, like, eating turkey legs, whatever. I don't even believe if I picked up on any tension. I'm not thinking anything about it. So we come back and I remember we were all in Jane's room and Jane pulled me aside and was like, hey, like Uzo, like, can I talk to you for a second? And I was like, all right, cool. So she sat me down in the study and Jane was like, yeah, so Wannabe told me that you were talking about me. And I was like, oh, like, what did he say? What happened? Because I'm confused, right? So she lays out the scenario of what happened with my cousin and, all that stuff, right? And I was like, no, that's 100% true. And I did say that. But my question is, what context did he tell you in? Because you do act like that. You do. Like, I wasn't talking junk. If anything, I was like trying to soothe my cousin to be like, yeah, like, there's no beef. Like, that's just her personality.
Yeah.
It is your personality.
Yeah.
And when I said it like that, she was like, oh, yeah, it is my personality.
Right.
And I was like, I'm curious as to like what this is about or whatever. So then Rosie and Wannabe, like they end up joining us. And I was like, did y'all like, I knew, of course, Wannabe knew, but I was like, Rosie, did you know? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, why would y'all invite me to this carnival knowing good and well she had a problem with me? Right?
Right. Yeah.
That was number one.
Yeah.
So where I was like, I could have stayed where I was at. You didn't have to invite me. And then this was like at the very beginning of the school year too. So maybe like a month or so later, like things are still kind of like weird. Like, of course, I'm still hanging out with Jane and Rosie. There's no beef with them, but things are still weird with Wannabe. It's like he'll invite me, but then like he'll try to be exclusive, but then want to know what I'm doing. And I was just like, okay, you're being strange.
Right.
So the girl that actually introduced me to Wannabe, the one that I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
So she had a close friend there. Who I guess her close friend ran into and was like, oh, like, how's everybody doing? Like, how are Uzo, Jane, and Rosie? Like, how is the crew? And so Wannabe told her, he was like, yeah, the crew is fine, but like nobody really likes Uzo like that. She's getting on everybody's nerves. Right. So the best friend went back and told the girl who introduced us to Wannabe that. And like, she called me because by this time she had got kicked out or whatever. That GPA was too low.
Got it.
So she was gone. She was not at the school.
Got it.
So, they will kick you out below a 2.0.
Yeah.
You will not come back. You will not come back. So she was at home. She was at home. So yeah, so she called me and she told me this and I was like, okay, that's interesting. So when she told me that, I didn't say anything. I just stopped talking to him. Like he would invite me to go out to lunch. I just would decline. I would say I was busy. I would go by myself or like I definitely made like a whole separate group of friends. Yeah. And I noticed with that group of friends, he noticed me like hanging around them more and more and more. And then he would try to hang around them too. And so I just started talking to other people. So literally like I would just like avoid him with other people because I'm like, nah, you were talking. If I'm annoying, like leave me alone. Right. That's literally my energy. So that probably went on for like 2 weeks, right? It wasn't a long period at all. So another friend of ours that transferred after freshman year, she came back up to visit because she had tried to get an apartment. They wouldn't let her out of her lease. So she had came back up to visit to try to get that resolved. So when I was talking to her, I was like, yeah, girl, da-da-da-da-da. So I'm telling her all that's happened. So she decides to go tell him, which I was like, girl, that's extremely messy. Because ain't nobody asked. or whatever. But anywho, like we had all went out to dinner, and then I think he called me or he like came to my dorm or whatever, and he was like, Uzo, like Tiffany told me X, Y, and Z. And I don't really care if her name is in here. I haven't seen her in years. But he was like, yeah, Tiffany told me X, Y, and Z, blah blah blah, like I'm sorry. And I was like, nah, it's no beef, it's just that if you're saying that I'm annoying, I'm gonna fall back, like
right, respectfully,
like there's nothing else for us to talk about, like it is what it is. So after that I was like, all right, cool, like whatever. So I don't know if you're familiar with probate season, but there is a season. Are you familiar with probate season?
No, like continue.
Okay, so yeah, I'm like, that's a little that's a little misleading. But so probate season is like a time during the year. It happens in the fall and the spring semester where all of the Greek sororities, the the girls and the guys. So all of them, like, they intake their new people, they do whatever to them, child, and then they're presented to the world. So
okay, is that like the hazing period where all that jazz happens? I
don't know about hazing, but it is a time where people get they come into whatever organization and they're presented.
I don't know if that was true, but we'll move on.
I've never, I'm not a part of one, so I have no idea. Y'all ain't gonna get me. I don't know nothing about that.
Just have questions, but continue.
I don't play with the Divine Nine. I'm not in it. You gotta ask somebody. You gotta ask somebody else. But I know the people, they do whatever they got to do, and then we know who you are now. So
got it.
That's as much as I can offer.
Thank you. This is
you're welcome. So the friend Jane, she was actually in the process to join one of the sororities. She actually didn't tell me. Okay. I found out because my friend Rosie, she had rushed, but she didn't make it.
Got it.
So she knew, but she did end up crossing like a year or so later. So shout outs to her, but she didn't make it at that time.
Got it.
So she was the one that gave me that information. And I was like, oh, like, this is really special. I'm gonna, get her X, Y, and Z, whatever. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't tell anyone. And mind you, at this time, me and Jane, we were in the same major. So I had classes with her. And I was just like, I was just letting her do her thing. So mind you, I never said anything. Only person who knew I knew was Rosie, because she told me, right? So then I had classes with Jane, and I'm noticing that she doesn't want to, she's not really talking to me. And she's not being rude, but she's not talking to me. Like, it was weird. And then I was in Wannabe's room with the crazy girl that I mentioned at the very beginning of the story, the one that I met on Twitter. It was me, her, and Wannabe, and we were in the room. And so that's when I found out that they knew, right? Jane had told Wannabe, and Wannabe and Rosie had told the other girl, right? And so the crazy girl, she was nuts. So she thought it would be appropriate to come up to Jane and be like, I know what you're doing. Like, ooh. And with stuff like that, with the Divine Nine, it's supposed to be super, super, super secretive. Like, you don't do that. You're not supposed to do that shit, right? So she was like, I know, like green and pink. Like, she was just saying things until where Jane was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Because of course Jane didn't tell her. So at that time, her and Wannabe thought it would be cute to tell Jane that I told her. Mind you, Jane never told me. And the girl already knew. Right? So I'm oblivious to any of this. So this is why Jane isn't talking to me. She's not really messing with me. And I'm just like, oh, I mean, I'm sure she has other things to worry about. I'm like oblivious.
Right.
So when I end up in Wannabe's room with the crazy girl, and like they're kikiing about it, and they were like, oh, like, this happening. And then we told them you said it. And I was like, why do y'all think that's funny? I remember being so confused. I was
confused with you.
I was like, I wasn't even there. Like, why? Because they were saying it like it was a joke. And I was like, it's not a joke. And I didn't do that. So why would you say that I did that? So I called Jane and I was like, hey, I don't know where you're at or what you're doing. I was just made privy of this information, and I want you to know I did not say anything. You didn't even tell me. I was just like, I just want to be clear, like, you didn't tell me. And I didn't act like I knew at all.
Yeah.
Because again, Rosie wasn't supposed to tell me either.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't want to throw her under the bus. But I was like, yeah, like, they lied on me. I don't know why they would straight up lie on me, but that was a whole lie. And so mind you, again, I had class with Jane. So the next day we're walking back from class, and then we run into Wannabe. And then so she literally takes me and Wannabe into like the laundry room, and I'm right there behind her. And then she's like, Wannabe, did Uzo tell you? Or was Uzo the one that told the crazy girl that I was doing X, Y, and Z? And I'm behind him. And then he's like, no, I did. And I was like, why would you lie? And she was like, and she didn't even get mad at him though. That's the thing. Like, it was just kind of like, and water under the bridge type of situation. So while that was going on, of course,
Can I ask a question? Why do you think that was? Because from the principles you just explained, that would be like a WTF moment.
Yeah.
Like, but why? How could it have been water under the bridge?
I think that Wannabe had been talking so much shit about me anyway, to where I don't know if Jane really liked me at that point.
Got it.
I think she had thought that I was like talking junk about her when I wasn't.
Her perception would have changed.
Yeah. I think if I did it, it was a problem, but if he did it, it wasn't. Even though he just admitted to like dog lying for no reason. Because one, you shouldn't have told that girl anyway. But when she gets caught, why am I all of a sudden like, why are you bringing me into it? So after that, I pull away from him again, and I only really hang out with Rosie, and I hang out with some other girls that were actually interested in another organization that I was interested in. It didn't end up working out for me, but those girls definitely ended up crossing or whatever at the end of the year. But I started like, I was cool with them. Like I would go to their rooms, and their dorm was in the same room as, or in the same dorm as Wannabe's. So Wannabe would, he would see me going over there or whatever. And he'd be like, oh, where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going to so-and-so's room. And he would just kind of, he was trying to hang out with them. He was just being weird. So Jane crosses. Oh, go ahead.
What is motivating him to continue? Like,
he wanted to steal my life.
That is just mind-boggling. That like, I find it hard because I would low-key have a breakdown moment, like a Real Housewife moment, because I'm like, why are you here still persisting?
When I tell you, I don't know why I was so calm, because throughout this situation, I never cussed him out. Even like at the very end, I never cussed him out. I just kind of got him with the facts. Because remember, the whole time, I was just I never really confronted him or whatever. And when he would come to me, I'm like, yeah, you're fake. Like, why are you lying? Or whatever. But it was never like a big thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He just seems like a snake. Like
no,
an elusive snake. Like, it's just like, what is he doing on the side? It's crazy to me. I'm boggled.
He absolutely was a snake. That is 1,000% true. So yes, absolutely weird. But so Jane crosses, and so I'm still not messing with him. Like me and Rosie, like that was my girl. By this time, I didn't have my car up there. Like I was not, I wasn't even worried about those folk. So me and Rosie, we were hanging out. We decorated a paddle for Jane. We took pictures with her at the probate. Like it was so fun. And like, he did his own thing. And so I'm just kind of not talking with him. And I'm hanging out with the other girls that want to join the other organization. And of course, Rosie and Jane, right? So remember I told you that he had a real close connection, like with my cousin and her friends that were a year younger. So maybe like a year before, me and my cousin went to go visit our friends that went to the college that I actually ended up transferring to. And like those friends at that time, they used to turn up. They loved a good time. It was lit. So we went to a house party at this Alpha's house. He was a part of the fraternity. And this particular Alpha, he had like these glasses. Remember like when those glasses with like the clear frames were in? Like those black glasses? So my cousin steals them from him, right? And so she loves these glasses. You know, she brings them to our college.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. These are her glasses. Yeah. Right. So Wannabe like sets up an arrangement to borrow the glasses because again, he wanted to be fashion and twerk and he wanted to do all that stuff. Yeah. He always wanted us to twist up his hair or dye up a patch of his hair or whatever. And y'all was just to twerk everywhere, but then he wasn't queer. But anywho.
Not confused.
Anywho, but you know, he made an arrangement to borrow these glasses. So he ends up keeping these glasses. And then he ends up letting Rosie have the glasses or like wear the glasses. So Rosie lied and said that she lost the glasses, but she ended up like, you know, she kept them because she didn't want to give them back. Right. Now, she didn't know that they were my cousin's glasses. Right. Oh, she didn't know that. She thought they were Wannabe's glasses. Yeah. So she thought it would just end there. Yeah. So Wannabe has to go back and tell my cousin, like, yeah, like, you know, I don't have your glasses, da 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 da. So my cousin is turning up like, oh, you need to buy me some more glasses, X, Y, and Z. They're going back on Twitter. And I'm like, she ain't even bought them glasses. But you know, whatever. Yeah. I'm staying out of it. Yeah. But I was like, hey, FYI, like, nah, or whatever. So me and Rosie are back there kikiing like,
wait, is this on Twitter? This feud?
Well, yeah, they're going back and forth on Twitter. Okay. And then my cousin actually confronted him in the lunchroom. In the cafeteria, and then he went back and started.
Paint the scene. What did this confrontation look like?
They weren't yelling or anything, but she kind of was like, "What were you saying on Twitter?"
I'm so imaginative. Okay.
Yeah, it was very mild, but it was definitely confrontational. It was definitely messy. But and this actually made me not mess with my cousin for like a good 2 years because I was like, "You followed me to where I'm at, and now you're being drama." You're doing a lot. So I didn't mess with her for a minute. And I ended up transferring out of that school. I didn't even tell that girl that I left. And like, I recently just got cool with her, like for real, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. But like, yeah, I was like, nah, you're annoying and you're messy and why'd you come here?
Avoid that energy. Yeah.
Right. So, but this is one of the situations that made me not mess with her. But anywho, so they got into it. He was tweeting more stuff and we ended up going to my friend's room. So I guess they knew where we were at. I don't know. But like me and my friend, we were studying for like a test and he was just there. So they bang on my friend's door and they're like, okay, you're talking. This is like where the real conversation happened. So it's my cousin, her big white friend, Jackie. And then we'll call the other girl Brittany. I also don't care about Jackie. So her name will be Jackie. Okay. So respectfully. So, and she was like, well, she was probably like my size and like I'm large, but you know, she was white. But anywho, and then so they all came and, you know, they were just like going off on Chris, like, oh, like, you know, cussing him out for being on Twitter, all this stuff. So initially it was just my cousin talking. So they ended up leaving. So when they leave, we bust out laughing, like me and my friend in the room. Wannabe, you know, he was kind of talking junk or whatever. Yeah. So they come back in and they're like, so we had our ears to the door and da. And then Brittany and Jackie tried to tell me like, and I'm looking at you, and you're supposed to be her cousin, and da. And I was like, don't come around me with that mess, because at the end of the day, I didn't tell her and him to link up. I didn't know anything about these glasses. Yeah. So whatever happens with these glasses, that's none of my business. I done told her to leave me alone. Yeah. And she wanted to do all this stuff. Right. I done told her, don't come around me with that mess. Yes, because they had already had a reputation because nobody liked Jackie. So they looked at my cousin and like Brittany and Jackie as like, you know, like bad or whatever. Yeah. And so I was telling her, I was like, yo, you might want to like, what's so special about this girl? Like she's doing a lot or whatever, but she wanted to do whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. Keep that from around me. So I was already agitated. So the next day I had to have a sit down with the girls. Like I literally called the girls to lunch. Yeah. And I was like, I told my cousin, I was like, I don't fuck with you. Like, don't bring this stuff around me. Like, that's annoying. Yeah. I told Brittany, I was like, I actually like you. But like, if anything that me and my cousin got going on, like, you got to shut up about it. Like, it's none of your business. Right. And I told the other one, Jackie, I was like, I don't like you. Don't fucking talk to me. It was literally like a Nene Leakes moment. And like, my friend Trevor was there and he was like, ooh, T. It was too much. That was another situation where Wannabe instigated the whole thing or whatever. Yeah. So then it's coming up on the second semester. So the other girls that I had been hanging out that wanted to join the other sorority, they were going to start their initiation process at the beginning of spring. So I was hanging around them. I was going to meetings, all this good stuff. And so Wannabe had noticed this, and I didn't find this out until like the summertime. But like he had noticed this, and then he was going around to literally, he said this to like 3 of my friends that did not talk to each other.
Wow.
So he said this to Rosie. He said this to the crazy girl. And he also said this to my other friend, which she doesn't need a name, but like they all told me like individually what he was saying. And basically he was saying that that I think I'm all that. And like he was like, oh, like I know she's gonna like cross this sorority. And because he wanted to be a part of a fraternity. Keyword fraternity. For boys. Right. So he was basically jealous that like I was looking like I was gonna join this sorority. And it was weird because it's like you're joining something for boys.
Right. What's the problem?
I don't know, but he was going around talking junk about that. And he was like, oh, like I know she's hanging out. Because remember, those girls lived in his dorm. So he would see me sometimes. And then he was like, oh, like, you know, she's hanging out with those girls. Da, 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 da. Like my name was constantly in his mouth all the time.
That's like a fixation for you.
It didn't make sense. So the next semester, going into the spring semester, I ended up not being able to join at that time, which was really sad. But like I really screwed up my freshman year to where I had like the lowest GPA like the first semester to be like not on academic probation. And then I picked it up the second semester. I think I picked it up to like a 2.5. And that's okay to join one sorority, but the sorority I wanted to join, it was a 2.75. So I didn't qualify for it at that time. And they only had lines like once a year or whatever. But I did not qualify at that time. So that was sad. But anywho, so the spring semester, he didn't come back. Like he got kicked out because of his grades.
Okay.
So he ended up giving me a rug that he had. I guess he came back to clean out his room. He ended up giving me a rug, and I was like, oh, okay. Because I was planning on confronting him. I remember I found out a lot of stuff during that, you know, that break, winter break. I had found out some stuff. I think I actually found out the jealousy part at that time. I don't think I knew that in the summer. I think I found out like he, like, you know, the jealousy about the crossing and all that stuff, him going around. I think I found that out at that time. And then I was going to confront him. Like I was really going to sit him down and be like, you got to stop talking about me. Like you really have to stop. But then he hit me up saying that he was leaving. So I was like, oh, okay, perfect. And I took his rug. So I didn't have the conversation.
Wow. How could you not though?
Because I wasn't planning on seeing him again. Because he was kicked out of the school. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to affect me anymore. So my friend Jane at that time, she broke up with her long-term boyfriend of like 6 months. I'm kidding. Probably like a year and some change by this time. It was like, because they were together basically all the freshman year and they broke up at the end of like fall semester, sophomore year or something. So a year and a half. But so they broke up, and then she started coming around more. And then she was upset because by this time I was in my school bag, because I was like, the next time they have a rush for the sorority, my GPA is about to be on fire. Like I wasn't playing. So I was only really messing with Rosie. So, and I had my car. So literally me and Rosie would meet up for lunch sometimes or dinner. But, you know, we were kind of doing our own thing. So Jane came around, and I guess she wanted to hang out more often. And then she kind of felt a type of way because I think she kind of, it appeared to me that she wanted to form a clique, and I saw a clique forming, and I run away from cliques. So when I saw what was happening, I was like, hey, I'm actually not going to attend this event, or hey, like I don't really want nothing. I don't want to deal with that because y'all are doing a lot. So I think she took it as she thought that we were all hanging out without her. But I was like, girl, we barely hang out, and you wouldn't know because you were always doing something else. You were with your man. So it's not that we're ignoring you. It's just that you were never here this long. Or whatever. So I guess she had like vented to Wannabe about it. And Wannabe was like, oh, like, you know, you don't need to be talking to me. You don't need to talk to Uzo. You know, she be acting like X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And so it was funny because when I learned this information, Wannabe had planned to come up and stay in my dorm.
Interesting.
He ended up not coming. But like he had already like he wanted to come and he wanted to stay with me. And so he ended up not it's ridiculous because remember I never really the only time that I really confronted him was when at the beginning was when well maybe twice, but it was at the beginning when the whole laundry thing, and then when he was telling everybody I was annoying.
Right.
So those are the only two out of everything I've said.
Yeah.
Those are the only two times that I actually was like, hey, like, what are you doing? Right. Yeah. I didn't do it the last time because I thought he was gone.
Yeah, he was going. Yeah.
And then like, you know, he came back, he wanted to stay in my room. He ended up not happening for whatever reason. But yeah, so then I find out that that you know that's how he felt because Jane actually told me because we ended up like hanging out. We went to like midnight breakfast or whatever. And we had like a little heart to heart. And I was like, yeah, I was like, nobody's trying to leave you out. I don't like clicks. And it's like I barely see Rosie. I might see her like 2 or 3 times a week. And you know, Rosie was working all the time. So it's like just because we're not hanging out with you, that doesn't mean we're hanging out with each other. Yeah. Like that's not the case. And so she was just like, oh, and like Wannabe was saying, you know, he was talking all this junk or whatever. And so I was like, are you serious? So at that time, I still didn't say anything because this was the end of the year. And me and Jane actually made plans to transfer to a new college. So, you know, it kind of was what it was. So then the summer rolls around and Wannabe is talking to Jane. They remained very, very close. And Wannabe was stating how much he missed me and all this stuff, all this good stuff. So Jane came back and told me, and I was like, okay, sure. So we get on the phone. Jane is not on the phone, but you want to know what I did? Because I knew that Wannabe was a liar. The first time we got on the phone, I had one of my other friends from school listen in on silent when we talk. So there's a witness to this conversation. So we were talking and then like he was like, oh, like I just want to know like why we're not friends and X, Y, and Z. And I was like, Wannabe, you have talked so much shit about me. And I literally detailed everything that he has done that he didn't know that I knew about. Wow. I was like, you know, you did this, you did that, you told this person this. They came back and told me this. And then when this happened, I thought we were cool. But then little did I know you were saying all of this. And I'm like, what is it that you want from me? Like, why do you keep on talking about me? Like, what? And even this situation, he was just like, well, like, I just want to be friends. Like, he really wasn't saying anything back. And then I think I was just like, okay, anywho. But like, we ended up getting off the phone somehow. So I had my first witness. And then I talked to Jane again, and Jane was just like, oh, like, you know, give us some time. Like, would you talk to him again? And I was like, okay, whatever. So I had my former roommate on the phone, this time on silent, so she could witness what happened. And so the conversation kind of went the same way where I was like, I do not want to be your friend. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, no. So Wannabe went back and told Jane, he went back and told Jane and was saying how I was trying to get Buck and how he cussed me out. And he was lying. Because again, I had the people on the phone. And it wasn't even anything I just needed like that person to be like, you know what he went back and said? Because to me, I think the reason why I didn't have that big of a reaction
is because you had the fat.
It was so foreign. Yeah. To where I was like, you're really like telling a lie.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
it's insane.
That's the story about how my young queer friend in college wanted to like take my identity. He literally wanted to be friends with everyone that I was friends with and like make everybody hate me.
I'm baffled. You have to be mindful of your energy because he sounds absolutely crazy.
And to this day, like, well, I don't have any social media anymore, but he would follow me. He would like my pictures on like Instagram.
Whoa, yeah. Obsession.
He never tried to like reach back out or like text me or call me, but like he would follow me and like my stuff on social media. I think we were friends on Facebook.
I mean, because it sounds like, yes, lovely tea, this is delicious, but low-key, that sounds like after watching all these Netflix specials, yeah, people are absolutely insane, and that sounds like he's not all the way right there. Yeah. I mean, blessings, and I hope his life is better now, but...
Oh, yeah, you know, he has a whole family, so... Yeah. And
But I'm glad you came out unscathed.
yes. And that was honestly like, I don't know if I've ever experienced anything similar to this, but
Yeah.
at that moment, I realized I was like, it doesn't matter. People will really lie on you. It
They
doesn't matter
really
what you
do.
do. Like you could really be minding your business and people will
Yeah.
really drag you into stuff. Cause I was no stranger to drama, but
Yeah.
usually that was because I said something.
Right. Which
And though,
but fireworks just went off in my
uh-huh.
head. That's kind of like how it all started. W-
Hmm.
And it's just like, okay, in context, I think it's just like, I don't know. I just found it so interesting because I also know you.
Hmm.
So I say because like keeping it real and when you're just transparent, how someone else, especially in college, because like it's a time where everyone's social, it's a totally different
Hmm.
atmosphere than it is now. How that energy, and I know we were younger than we're older now, but even so, I think those parts of just being genuine have remained the
Hmm.
same. How people truly, to your point, just lie on you, but also like I just could not. I would not be able to keep up with that. Like that would honestly drive me insane to know that someone is that determined to fuck me over and for no absolute reason. That seems a little senile.
It
Like,
was truly interesting. It was very interesting. I just to this day, like I really think that I didn't react because I was like, this is not the truth at all. Like, what are
yeah.
you doing? And
How would
like
you react if you saw him?
I would just ignore him.
Okay.
Yeah, if
And
he
like
spoke to
if you
me.
saw him today, you would.
Yeah, like if
Okay.
I saw
Okay.
him in the store or something, like I don't
Yeah.
even know if I would recognize him, but like assuming
Okay.
that I recognized him, I would look at him. I would have whatever initial reaction, but
Yeah.
I know it wouldn't be like, "Oh my God, hey!" Like I would not.
Yeah.
Like if he came up to me, I would be like, "Yeah, I don't really like you."
Yeah.
Like, mm-mm, mm-mm. And I try
Yeah.
to avoid people in the store anyway. So like if
Yeah.
I see him first, I'll just go. Even people who I like.
Yeah.
So I'll like see you from a mile away and I'll like hustle to my car. I'm like,
I can see you just that now. Like,
I,
oops, you went to see me.
oh gosh, I just to this day, or even like the initial thing, the catalyst when I said whatever I said to kind of soothe my cousin with that situation, it was just interesting when I had that conversation with Jane. And I was like, well, no, that's true.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
that is what happened. And I
Mhm.
was like, and I did say that. And that seemed to like make her okay. But I was like, then why were you mad?
But it goes back to the point of like how he delivered that
The
information to
context.
her.
Yeah. Cause I was like, what context was this? And at that time, I was curious as to like, if you were so bothered, because when this all was said, we had went to Walmart, we were kikiing in the car.
Yeah.
Nothing, I was not addressed about what I said at all. So let's say you're super close with Jane, which wouldn't even
Mhm.
make sense
Yeah.
because you really just met her like fleetingly
Yeah.
last year. But let's say, that's your bestie.
Hmm.
You're super close with her. You're so offended by what I said. How come I never knew about it? And how come you were inviting me to places with someone that you just told that I was talking about her?
Yeah.
Like, that means you don't care about me or her. Why would you do that?
That I
It
don't
didn't make
know. It
sense.
does not make sense. Just hearing about the situation, I do find like some resolve in like not, I don't know, not having a lot of friends or getting to know people because people are so confusing. Like my mind would be boggled by
Yeah.
this individual. Like
Yeah.
I appreciate, I would say the level that you were able to navigate through that because
Mm-hmm.
I, I was just annoyed. Like, what? Why are you lying? I do not like someone. That is like principle number one. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
telling a lie on me?
Yeah.
That is like, and the fact that like you, I think we're able to navigate through that is like, I applaud you, but it's also like at the same time, low key hearing the story, I'm kind of side eyeing all the other girls because I'm just like, at the end of the day, like how some things were handled, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you if you're giving baseline, like, okay, this is true, this is what I said.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know anything about this. I'm consistent here. This
Yeah.
person is the anomaly
Yeah.
and the catalyst and the problem and the scab. Make it the math is not.
They let
math.
him do whatever. And that's the thing. I've always been the type of person to just remove myself
Yeah.
from mess. But I think that's what I did at that time because of course I didn't have a good grasp on like my personality or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when I look back at the situations that I've been in, I will be the first to leave because you're not gonna get me. So I think in that situation I was like, "Oh, you thought like you are not gonna be around me, calling me annoying, doing all this stuff, trying to lie on me. So I'm not gonna hang out with you anymore." And I think that actually made him madder to where it's like I was just on his mind. And I think the other girls, they were just complicit. Like they didn't mind.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. That's why it was interesting when you met Jane, when you came over for my birthday. And Jane was retelling the story, but I was like, you had been cool with him.
Yeah.
So why is it a conundrum? Because we had actually
I recall.
Remember we were at dinner. I was like, I don't know why you're like, because this was like the first time I had seen Jane in like 4 years. Like she had moved away. She had like started a new career. She had moved away and she just came back like a few months earlier. So like we weren't in consistent communication at all. We definitely didn't fall out. I remember we hung out right before she moved. And we kept in contact a little bit, but like it was definitely no beef. We would hit each other up throughout the years on our birthdays or just like send each other pictures and things like that. But like we definitely were not close. So I didn't even know that she had moved back until like I had came back from Belize and I realized it was her birthday. And I was like, oh, like, let me wish her happy birthday. And then that's when she told me, like, oh, like, are you still in the city? Like, I moved back. And I was like, what? And like, my birthday is only 3 days after. So it was very sporadic to where it was like, it's not some strange loyalty because it's like, we didn't, like, why is it a thing now? Like you were his friend when he was doing all of this, which I don't think is wrong because I think we were really young. And so you can't expect like someone who's 19 to like you really have a grasp on like fake people and like, whatever. So I never cared. I was always just like, well, I'm not gonna hang around them. But I never was like, oh, you can't. Like, no, I was never on that type of time. So when she was bringing it up, I was like, it's not a problem. Like he really liked you and y'all seem to really like each other. Y'all should go get dinner.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, it's really not an issue. I do not care.
I remember that.
Yeah, I just would never hang out with him ever again, but you can do whatever.
And I applaud you because I wouldn't be able to do that. Like, I honestly would. I just feel like something I appreciate about you and hearing the story. I'm someone who like I feel like if I get a vibe and you prove it to be true, unless we have complete history, I'm just like I'm good. Like I'm okay. I don't wanna be bothered by what I know. Because what I know is bothering me right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna look at you like, in judgment. Like honestly, I will. And like even knowing, some of the scenarios of people, not that I have any reason to look at them in judgment, but there are some things I'm like, but you have like an understanding and I think you have a history and like you're able to also with this specific situation, like still be like objective in what you need to be. And that's a great strength though. Because I honestly would be like, I can't. Like please don't bring me in this space. Because I'm about to say something. Like
it was really like just the way things were at that school and like our friend group, it was hard to avoid people anyway. And like, I really don't know why I didn't care. Like, honestly, because it's like, even when I retell the story, it was a lot. It was a lot going on to where I never once, it did not keep me up at night at all. Like, I don't ever remember like stressing about it or like doing anything. Whenever I heard he would say something, I'd be like, oop, not talking to him. Like, oop, not going there. And that would just be that. And then I would be bothered with like, how come you're not? It's like, what? What do you want? What do you want from me? What do you want? But, I guess that wraps it up. for this week's episode of Dissect the BS. As always, don't forget to shop www.essentiallyuzo.com. That is my affirmation-based business filled with affirmation floor mats for your young little Black and brown girls. Coming soon will be different types of hair accessories and any type of item that you can see in your bathroom, riddled with affirmations and beautiful words for your young girls. Again, that is www.essentiallyuzo.com. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.